As a dancer, you probably fall into one of two groups. You either love Battu or you hate it. But regardless of which group you fall into, at some point you're going to need to use it. And the better you are at it, the more enjoyable it is. So in today's video, I'm going to dive into all of the things that might be holding back your best Battu. So if you're ready to improve the strength of your beats, let's do it. I'll often ask my dancers in class, what is the best way to improve speed in our legs? And I'll get all kinds of answers like more pressure in the floor, faster feet, more connection in our inner thighs, point your toes, anticipate, which isn't actually wrong, but it's not complete. Speed comes from holding for longer. It may seem like that's going to slow us down. However, the longer we hold, the faster we have to move to get back to that position again. When I watch people dancing, what I'll see is they'll do their tendus and they'll just bounce in and out from the positions, kind of just going through the motions. So when we're working on our battement tendu and our battement tendu jeté, the goal is to get back to the fifth position and stay, especially when we have an accent in. So for example, instead of going and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4, we would go and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. And what I'll do then is I'll give a combination that goes 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. This is one of the best combinations that you can do to improve your Battu speed already from the foundation of your bar work. And it goes like this: 5, 6, 7, 8, and 1, and 2, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 1, and 2, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 1, and 2, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 1, and 2, and 1, and 2, and 3. You can see after the first two tendus, I hold for a little bit longer to create more tension, more engagement, and then more speed in the following three tendus. And the reason this helps our Battu is that we're developing syncopation in the rhythm of how we use our legs. Now, when we think about Battu, the number one correction that always comes to mind is that the legs have to move side to side, not in a circle around each other. And definitely not front to back. Controversy warning, guys. This is where things are going to get maybe a bit challenging from what you've heard in your other classes. This is where the most controversial correction of all time in ballet comes in. Where should our leg go in à la seconde? So for example, if I put my standing foot just behind the line of tape so that my leg that's going to do the tendu is on the tape. As I tendu out to the side, we do not want that foot to come in front of the tape. Because what then will happen is as you want to close, you're going to have to bring it around to come into the fifth position. And then if we do the same thing and the leg comes in front of the tape, it's made a slight circle around to come back into fifth position again. And you're probably saying, but I just don't have the turnout. I don't have the rotation. I'm not going to be able to get my leg in that position. Go ahead and stand in parallel on that line again. And now abduct your leg, move it away from your center line, and keep it along the same line that you just moved it. If you can do it in parallel, you can do it in turnout. So when we do this movement to the side, we want to be thinking that our leg is passing through first position, even if I'm not turned out to the line where my toes are in line on the line of the floor, coming back through first position and closing into our fifth. Same thing here, back through first, out, through first, into fifth. It's this process of keeping the thighs close together in the tendu that's actually going to help you when you get to the center and you have to do the same movement in a jump. Now, if you're wanting to practice this on your own outside of classes, stand in a fifth position and you're going to think about the connection at the top of your legs. From here, when you open your leg, you're going to flex your foot, cross behind, flex, cross, flex, cross, flex, cross, flex, cross, flex, cross, flex, cross, flex, cross. And the goal with this movement is not to stop, but to use the inner thighs to bounce again. All right, so you've taken those things, you've done your battement tendu, you've done your battement tendu jeté, you've even started to find that rebound of your legs. Now you're going to take it to the center. You come into the center and you go, I just can't make this happen. What do I have to do? Whether it be a changement battu, Royale, an entrechat, entrechat six, entrechat trois, entrechat cinq, I recommend starting them at the bar to give you a little bit of extra height so that you have time to figure out the coordination. Head to the bar, plie, jump, push off, and come back. You could even do it with one bar on either side so that you can hold yourself in the air while you work on the pattern of your legs. So there are many different ways that we can classify the different types of battu, which one is named what, and in which method. In the methods that I have done, we're going to talk about how we utilize entrechat, Royale, entrechat trois, entrechat cinq. So before we move into that, I just want to talk about a simple rule that we have at the bar that will help you to understand where to close first when we get into our battu. Let's say we're doing tendus and you're going 4 front, 4 side, 4 back. When you do your tendus to the side, you're going to make sure that your first tendu doesn't change, because if it does, and you continue with those 4, you're back at the same point again, and you're not going to be able to go to the back. So the first thing that you want to do is when you close to the front. So we don't change, don't change, change. And this is the rule anytime that you do an even number of tendus. When it comes to an odd number, you're going to do the opposite. You're going to change immediately. So if we had 3, 1, 2, 3. This is important to know because it will help you to understand when you're going to change immediately or not change immediately in your battu. The least number of beats that we can do is going to be 2. But we don't name these steps based on how many times we beat our legs. We name them based on how many positions we show in the air. On the grand spectrum of battu, a Royale or changement battu is at the bottom of that spectrum. Now, some people will say the story around Royale is that Louis XIV was attempting to do an entrechat, and instead of changing his legs immediately, he had a little bit of confusion based on that tendu exercise. Not really, I'm just kidding. But then what he did was, instead of changing immediately, he came back and didn't change on the first one and then changed on the second beat, looking something like this. The only real differentiating factor between an entrechat and a Royale is that in a Royale, we don't change on the first beat, and in an entrechat, we do. So with a Royale, you're going to go open, cross, open, close, changing which leg is in front in the ending 5th position. And in an entrechat, you're going to go open, change, open, change, meaning we come back with the same foot in front at the end. Now, maybe you're sitting there trying to count in French. 1, 2, 3, 4, and you realize there's 4. Entrechat. Why is it cut? And that's because we go jump, open to a small second position, cross, that's 2, open, that's 3, cross and land, that's 4. The next one, landing on 2 feet, going up that list, would be entrechat 6, and then beyond that, entrechat 8, and then entrechat 10. The reason why we're working up in 2s is because when we go to the odd numbers, we're only landing on 1 foot. So entrechat 3, entrechat 5, entrechat 7, entrechat 9, all of those steps land on 1 foot with the other foot in coup de pied, front or back. We always want to master the steps that land on 2 feet first before we go to land on 1 foot, because it's a little bit harder to stabilize, and knowing which foot you're picking up or landing on is really based on the even number of battus that we were doing just before. Now, for those of you who are maybe working on battu and you've been doing this for quite a while, I want to give you 3 tips that you can take into your entrechat 6, because this is going to be massive. It's going to help you so much, and you're going to be able to actually achieve your entrechat 6 probably within a few practice sessions of watching this video. So technically for an entrechat 6, we jump up, open, close, open, close, open, close. And this time you're going to see that we're landing with a different foot front at the end. The mistake that most people make is they'll jump and they'll try to get to the highest jump point before they even start doing their battus. Problem is, you're already on the way back down as your legs are trying to frantically be in the air. So trick number 1 to improving your entrechat 6 is to jump and immediately change. Start to move as fast as you possibly can so that you're starting your battu on the way up and then coming down. Now, while technically the legs do open, cross, open, cross, open, cross, the faster you can get open, cross, so that an in, or like we did at the bar, an in, and in, and in, is actually going to improve your ability to do the entrechat 6. Don't think about just trying to do it at the feet. Try to cross at the top of the legs as much as you can so that your thighs actually have to bounce back out into each part of it. And then as soon as they've bounced out, you're trying to bring them back in as rapidly as you can. And of course, the last exercise, and this is one of my favorite things to do, get down on the ground, lean back ever so slightly, legs out to the front, flex your feet, cross, 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 cross. Go as fast as you can for 30 seconds, and that will help to develop the speed you need in your legs for things like entrechat 6, 8, 10, maybe even. Now, what about our odd friends? The trois, the cinq, the sept, the neuf. This is where things get a little bit more complicated. So if you know that a Royale doesn't change on the first one and then changes, and that an entrechat changes on the first one and comes back again, that's what's going to be the basis for how you do your entrechat trois and how you do your entrechat cinq. An entrechat trois doesn't change on the first one and then changes on the second one, landing in coup de pied. An entrechat cinq is going to change change, and then land in coup de pied. So entrechat trois and entrechat cinq. Now, I always recommend getting some mastery in your legs around things like entrechat trois, entrechat cinq, entrechat six even, before starting to implement that into your other petit allegro or grand allegro. If you can't jump off of 2 feet and do an entrechat or a royale, you're going to have a very hard time jumping from 1 foot and doing ensemble battu or frisal battu or jeté battu, which is going to be more similar to those odd numbered jumps that we were doing before. The principles are all the same. So let's recap. Your battu, it's not just one leg working at a time. You need both legs to operate. It's why we do both sides of the bar, so that you develop the strength and the speed in both legs. Legs need to travel really close side to side, not around in your tendus and jetés, to establish the right pattern for your battu later on. The rapid connection of the inner thighs to close, and then the rebound back out again, rapidly bringing it back in again, is what's going to make your battu work effectively. And if you're trying to do it with one leg, it's not going to work. You can't clap with one hand very effectively. So here's how I suggest you practice. Next time you're doing your tendus or jetés or combattements, you want to make sure that when you close, especially if the accent is in, that you're holding in fifth position for as long as possible before opening rapidly and then closing again. Do this exercise where you're working on crossing your legs as fast as you can and the rebound of the leg back out again. Come down to the floor and work on beating your legs in this position as well. And then grab 2 bars and start to work on the patterning of your feet, whether you're working on entrechat, royale, trois, six, sept, cinq, doesn't matter. You need to be working on the patterning first before you start to do it without that assistance. At the end of the day, guys, battu is just another step that we need to master and have in our toolbox as dancers. So implementing those exercises, building the correct coordination, building the timing and the speed in your legs is how you're going to refine that tool so you have success in your battu. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Let me know down in the comments where you struggled, what your challenges are, and maybe something specific about what you're finding difficult with battu. That way I can help you better in the next video. And remember, guys, don't get frustrated, because this takes practice for many years.